When you look in the mirror, do you like what you see? Do you feel that you have praiseworthy skills? Are you able to stand up to peer pressure? Can you accept valid criticism? Can you handle unfair remarks others make about you? Do you feel loved? Do you take care of your health? Are you happy for others when they succeed? Do you generally view yourself as successful? If you answered no to several of the above questions, it may be that low self-confidence has blinded you to your strengths. And believe me when I tell you that I can relate, because there are moments in my life where I felt low self-confidence. Well, if you haven't guessed it, this episode is all about self-confidence, self-worth, and modesty. Everyone, especially Gen Zs, often face problems that question their self-confidence, and this can affect how they relate with people. This issue of not having enough self-confidence or low self-esteem are common factors that make people nervous at events, lonely, engage in artificial body changes, and feel insecure. Before I get into today's episode, I'd like to, for clarity's sake, define some words for you. The first word is confidence. Feeling that you can trust, believe in, and be sure about the abilities or good qualities of somebody or something. Self-worth. It is synonymous to self-esteem. Feeling of being happy with your own character and abilities. Modesty. Self-effacing. To be self-effacious. Not wanting to attract attention to yourself or your abilities.
Self-confidence is you looking at yourself and saying, despite everyone telling me that this will not work out, I soldier on and continue with what I'm doing with my passion to be able to reach the goal that you have personally set for yourself. Self-confidence is also accepting that which makes you happy, even if the world looks at it as a tiny or frivolous thing.
Growing up, I really didn't have a high self-esteem. I actually had a low self-esteem. What I think really causes, I think the African parents and the society actually influences the child's self-esteem. If an African parent keeps telling a child, comparing a child to another child, why Emeka carry first, you came out to second, Emeka get two, other kind of conversations with your African parents, and African parents are sometimes distant. They feel that the only way to correct a child is by scolding them, telling them they are nothing, reducing them. So this affects a child's self-esteem.
Those are the voices of 2 out of 4 of the contributors that will be sharing their opinions on today's episode. They are Dumebi and Pace. You must have heard Dumebi's voice in the first episode, but Pace is debuting today as a contributor for today's podcast. He's a friend. He's an interesting person. I've known him since secondary school. The question for today is, how can we, or rather, how can you boost your self-confidence? Any ideas? Well, myself, Dumebi, Pace, Presley, and Felicia have a few answers that might be of help. So are you ready to get answers? Let's get answers. To another interesting episode of Answers for Gen Z. I am your host, Osakpọlọ. Thank you for joining me on my 3-episode launch. This is the second episode. A new episode will drop every 2 weeks, so do well to follow the podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook to get updated and have interesting conversations, be part of the social media community. Thank you very much. So what's up about me? What's up with me? I recall in the previous episode I told you guys that I will be starting uni in January. Well, it's March now. The time that I recorded this, it's March, and I started uni in January. It was fun, but it was also scary. If you read the newsletter, More Than a Pod newsletter, you can check it out. Do well to subscribe. I mentioned, I think, in the second issue that I suffered from imposter syndrome for weeks. Went on for weeks. So if you don't know what imposter syndrome is, it's basically when someone begins to feel insecure and unworthy of their achievements. Like, I felt that the fact that I was in the university and that I was in a department that I chose for myself, I felt that I wasn't worthy of it. It wasn't a good time for me and it's quite funny. I believe, thinking about it, I believe I worked so hard to get there. I mean, I was at home for 3 years, not because jammed me, but because I think the first time I wasn't given the course that I wanted. Second time, I didn't do well in the post-UTME. But the third time, I gave it my all and God did it. I got into school, got into my my department, got my course, so on and so forth. But the fact that I got into school and it just dawned when classes started. So I go into classes. It just dawned on me that the whole no one really cares about who you are. You are just there for one thing and one thing only, to read your books, have good grades, make relationships, form relationships, make friends, and so on and so forth. But it was so scary that I was alone, because the friends that I had that we got into uni together this year, they were all in different departments, different faculties, and I was alone. I would turn to my left, people are conversing, people are making friends. I'm not the type of person that makes friends with people easily. I don't usually talk with strangers. It's hard to explain, but that's just how I am. So I look to my left, people are conversing. I look to my right, people are reading, studying, and I'm like there. Sometimes I think the first week we didn't really have proper lectures. Lecturers weren't coming to classes, and we were just there. So it's basically, now you know whether you go read or whether you not read. And I couldn't read. I just couldn't. So because one, I was suffering from this thing, and two, I just resolved to watching movies. So I was just on my phone throughout the week, and when I finally got a grip of myself, I started doing well. I started going for night classes and so on and so forth. I started recovering. I I think I opened myself out to talk more with people, and I know it's slow, but I mean, I have 4 more years to have a life in school, so what's the rush? So it's been fun. I have exams next month, and I'm not sure I've been reading well. I'm scared, but I'm not scared. But I've started reading. I beg, enough about my school drama. Let's get into today's episode, shall we? Do you know how you view yourself can affect how others view you? Some people think self-confidence is all about being able to stand in front of a large crowd, to speak or perform. It's much more than that. Self-confidence is so important that the very lack of it can lead to low self-esteem, then depression, and ultimately, God forbid, suicide. So what then comes to your mind when you hear the term self-confidence? While you think about it, here's what the contributors have to say.
Self-confidence is on the basis believing in yourself. But whenever we say believing in yourself, people always look at it in the sense that I can do it. When I tell anyone believe in yourself, I mean that you saying that I'm going to stick to this, whatever this is, even though people are trying to tear me down. Self-confidence is when you can say I love art and I will continue to do art even though everyone tells you that you are wasting your medical degree. Self-confidence is when you say, I'm going to use photography to bring awareness to oral hygiene. I'm going to bring awareness to safe eating. Self-confidence is you looking at yourself and saying, despite everyone telling me that this will not work out, I soldier on and continue with what I'm doing with my passion to be able to reach the goal that you have personally set for yourself. Self-confidence is also accepting that which makes you happy, even if the world looks at it as a tiny or frivolous thing. Now, as compared to what I have previously said, self-confidence is, for example, you saying that my goal this year is just to be closer to God. My goal this year is just to eat one fruit a day. Now, to everyone else, they may look at you and say that's the most stupid goal you can be able to make. Anyone can be able to make that goal. You need to be serious about your life. But for you, the self-confidence comes in and says, this is what I truly want, and this is what I'm going to achieve. This is how I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to let anyone stop me, and I'm not going to let their words get to me.
Self-confidence. I believe this is when someone has complete trust in their characters, qualities, capabilities, and abilities. This is when someone believes that they should do something and they will do it and they can actually do it. Like you have no fears, you don't feel intimidated, no sort of bullying can bring you down. You have the full on idea on your task and you're going to complete that task. You give yourself a a task and you complete it. So someone with self confidence can't be intimidated, bullied. They are just confident in themselves, in what they can do, and they are actually going to do it.
Self-confidence is an attitude towards your skills and abilities. It's like being able to trust yourself, and you can handle a situation. You can, and not just that. Self-confidence, like being able to take criticism, being able to have a positive view of yourself, knowing your strengths and your weaknesses. That's what I think self-confidence is.
Self-confidence is having confidence in yourself, Noni. It's like you have confidence in your thoughts, your actions, in your decisions, in your in your character. Like you are very confident with everything that you do. Not just like people just feel like self-confidence is all about like how people walk, or like this pride thing you get, like, oh, I'm beautiful. They just put it like in line with self-esteem, which it kind of is, but like they define self-esteem as self-confidence. I don't know if you get my point. So I feel like confidence is like you just being confident, not just in your beauty or in your outward appearance, but like being confident in everything about yourself, being confident about the decisions you make, the people you're with, being confident about the things you say, being confident about your statements, your presence, like just being really confident.
Now, whatever you think self-confidence is, you're right. Whether it's trusting in yourself, believing in all that you are, believing in your thoughts, your opinions about yourself, trusting in your skill, like Presley said, you are right. But there is a key element that is very important in having self-confidence, and that is self-worth, self-esteem. Like I earlier defined, it's a feeling of being happy with your own character and abilities. Like self-worth as a feeling. Now, do you think that self-worth and self-confidence are the same thing? For me, I think that self-worth is placing and having value for yourself. It's the value that you have for yourself. And it's all about having self-respect. I mean, for instance, for years I suffered, I belittled myself a lot, that even now sometimes I'm trying to grow, I'm getting better, and I try not to let my imperfections define me. Because the thing is, imperfections, you thinking about your imperfections can make you lose value for yourself in a particular area. So, as a singer, while in my early teens, I always admired people that could sing really high. Like, I thought, like, as a guy, if you can't hit up to like 5 octaves, you don't know how to sing. 5, I'm not joking. If you can do high notes, whistle key as a guy, I coveted those things, and it affected me because I'm not a countertenor singer. I'm a very low baritone singer. I can sing some notes and bars, and for a while I got sad that I wasn't able to hit those high notes that I coveted. But the sooner I got to understand that what makes a great singer isn't the fact that you're able to hit high notes, it's how you're able to make use of what you have and use it to the best of your ability. I mean, there are incredible low-range singers in the world. There is the likes of Avi Kaplan. There is what's the name of this guy? This guy has left my head. We know him. He sang Bimbo. He sang Have Thine Own Way, oh Lord. Yeah, that guy. So people like that exist in the world, and they were able to make the best out of what they have. And the moment that clicked in my head, I got to appreciate myself more, because the fact that I wasn't able to hit high notes and I was sad about it, it really affected me. There was a period where I completely stopped singing. I didn't know how to sing. First of all, I hated my voice. I stopped singing, and my voice only happened to it didn't grow. It just remained at that spot where it was. So I got to understand that appreciating what I have and using it to the very best of my knowledge was what made a great singer. And I need not to think so little of myself or think that I'm not a great singer just because I can hit high notes. So self-respect is you placing value on what you have, on what you represent. The value of money does not lessen because it is torn, nor does your value lessen because of imperfection.
Self-confidence. So self-confidence and self-worth, are they the same thing? More or less. I'm not sure. This is more of a blood lines kind of situation. Is it pink or fuchsia, so to say? Is it red or maroon? A situation like that. Now, self-confidence, as we said, is continuing to do what you love doing, even though the world makes you feel that it is wrong. But self-worth comes in. I think self-worth comes before self-confidence, because self-worth is when you're coming to say, I like this, I'm comfortable with liking this, and I'm not going to let anyone make me feel horrible about that. Now, I understand the confusion, so I think I'd rather use examples um, to explain this. So self-worth, when it comes to relationships, you say, for example, celibacy, and you're like, I'm not going to give myself up to any other person except my spouse when we get married, because I believe I'm I believe, I don't want to say I'm worth the best, because that's the same word again, but it's sort of like, the world owes me this good thing, and I know that I can have this good thing because this good thing is for me. That is when, I that is, in my opinion, self-worth. Saying that good men or good women will find me, a happy relationship will find me, I want a good relationship will find me, I want a peaceful relationship will find me. So that is self-worth. And then self-confidence is you coming in and saying, now if you're with someone who's not giving you that, self-confidence is being able to say, hey, you are stressing me out, you're not giving me my peace of mind, and I don't want to be with you. But then again, when we're looking individually, when we say self worth, is in the sense that So say for example you're struggling with addiction, and self-worth is you looking at yourself and saying, by the way, I, I was brought to this earth to live a good life, a good, healthy life. That is what is for me. A good and healthy life is what is for me. But then self-confidence is you being able to look at yourself in the mirror and saying, hey, I'm not eating well. My eating habits are poor, so I need to sit down and actually deal with this situation. Call yourself by your name and say, hey, you're spending a lot of money on alcohol, which is not good for you. You're spending a lot of money, you're spending a lot of money on fatty foods, which is not good for your heart and whatnot. And being able to go to the doctor and saying, hey, I have a problem. Self-worth is also knowing that I am brought on this earth to have a peaceful life. But then self-confidence is you going to the psychiatrist and you actually going to the psychiatrist, not even talking to the psychiatrist, like you actually looking at yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I have a problem. I need to go to the psychiatrist. I need to deal with it. Okay.
Self-worth and self-confidence they usually mean the same thing. They both mean knowing your worth, knowing your value, and demanding the value that you think you deserve. You actually know your value and demand that people respect how you value yourself. The society respect how you value yourself. Your boss at the office respect how you value yourself. Your friends respect how you value yourself. And you just have that, should I say, ego. Just they are literally the same thing. You just have that confidence, that value, that worth, that high esteem of your value. I hope I'm making sense.
Okay, first, self confidence is like, I said it's like an attitude towards your skills and your abilities. Now, let me use myself as a photographer. Now, in photography, there are like various range, and trust me, there are like a lot of range from different set of ways you take a picture and edit it. Now, as a photographer, I know my strengths and weaknesses, and I know how to handle criticism. And when I mean criticism, I'm not talking about other photographers, what they think about my work, because I don't really care. Because as a photographer, I what I really care is about the audience and putting my images out for what they are talking about. That's what is important for me. So that's what like self-confidence is, being able to able to handle criticism. Because sometimes even some of my images, I've seen somebody like, oh, it's okay, it's all right, it's just there and all that. But I was able to handle the criticism and move forward, able to especially constructive criticism. And not just that, not only constructive, there are some criticism that when someone like criticize you, like it's not constructive at all, they'll just like damage your work, like as if you did nothing. But that those are the parts that I'll be able to control myself and say no, okay, I'll be able to push myself to handle it. That's self-confidence. That's self-confidence towards my work and what I do. And it does not belittle me, it does not weaken me, it actually helps me to move forward and do better. Self-worth is like, how would I say, the value you put for yourself, the value you have for yourself. That's what I think self-worth is.
If you have confidence in yourself, then you will have a lot of self-worth. I feel like the more confidence you have in yourself, the more value you attach to yourself, the more confidence you have in your decisions, in your thoughts, in your statements, in the things that you do, the more value you attach to them, and the more value you attach to who you are.
Now that you've listened up to this moment, from the moment where I ask questions about self confidence, and you've heard the contributors' opinions on what they think self confidence and self worth is all about, would you say that you are self confident or have a high self esteem? If yes, what do you think is the source of all of that? what is the story behind your self-confidence? You can reply to this question, but if you're listening through Spotify, you can send a reply to this question with the help of the Q&As. Just send your replies there, and who knows, I might read it on the next episode. If you're not listening via Spotify, you can send a tweet or a DM, use the hashtag AFGZPod, and I'll definitely see it. So, I asked the contributors this very question, and this is what they had to say.
First things first, just to put it out there, I'm female, obviously by my voice and by my name. I am African, one, and two, I am an elder child. So that by itself should tell you a history that a lot of um, elder African children share, with black tax and being deputy parents and whatnot. Now, with the self confidence, it took a long time for you. Actually, I could say in the last 2 years, that's when I've been able to struggle and get here and say that I am self confident. It did not, it as obvious, it did not take a day to get there. I think I started with small bits, and they usually and it started with YouTube. I think so. If I may be able to share the YouTube pages that helped me, first one is Karina Lud, and the second one is Dr. Michelle Duff. And I don't even remember how I got to watch their videos. For Karina Lud, I think it just popped up because she was doing a feature of old Hollywood actresses, and she was doing a particular one, a black Hollywood female actress, and she was talking about her life, the female actress's life, and how she was able to overcome things and what was happening behind the scenes. And I got very interested in the topics that she was sharing about old Hollywood actors and actresses. And so before I even realized it, I think 4 months later, that's when people started commenting on, these days you're not talking about this, these days you're not talking about that, or these days you're doing this and that. And that's when I started noticing that, hey, it seems there has been a slight difference. I couldn't tell, but everyone else started seeing it. And before I even realized it, I was starting to say no to a lot of things. I was also opening up myself to say yes to a few things. Now, the story with self confidence, I think I would say in the last few months, where and it's weird that this examples always have to do with relationships, where I sat down with one man who had proposed to me, and we were having a candid conversation. There was no shouting, there was no anger issues or whatnot. And I remember sitting, like, having this conversation with him and going like, I don't think you are ready for this role that you are asking for me. You want a wife, but you're not ready to be a husband. The things you haven't dealt with, the things you haven't talked about, and things like that. And especially to do with their psychological health and their financial health. Because this is someone who wanted a wife, but then was also taking care of the family and whatnot, which looked like an additional which looked like an added responsibility, which obviously would have fallen back on me, and especially because we're from different cultures, completely different backgrounds, and two different countries. So being able to say no and having this conversation without anger or issues and whatnot, I would put that as self confidence in believing in what I loved, in believing in what I wanted, and having the trust to say no to whatever was being given to me.
Growing up, I really didn't have a high self-esteem. I actually had a low self-esteem. What I think really causes, I think the African parents and the society actually influences a child's self-esteem. If an African parent keeps telling a child, comparing, for example, comparing a child to another child, Emeka, why Emeka carry first, you came out to second, Emeka get two, other kind of conversations with your African parents, and African parents are sometimes distant. They feel that the only way to correct a child is by scolding them, telling them they are nothing, reducing them. So this affects the child's self-esteem. Then the environment they live in, the kind of peers they keep at an early age also affects the child's self-esteem. But growing up, I actually changed my peers, and I think I've worked on my self-esteem and my self-worth.
I would say I'm self-confident, and I think the major source of it is the beginning of when I started learning photography. And back then, before I started learning photography, it's not like I don't have self-confidence. It's like I was not really like showing it to people. Like, so most of the times I'll be like, I'm shy and this, I don't talk in public and all that. So basically, when I started learning photography, I think it brought out that energy in me, that like the value in me, because when it comes to photography, communication is like the number one tool you get. So during my when I was learning photography and all that, so especially when you need to get clients, it is very, very, very important. Communication is the skill, and that is one thing that I never really like to do, talking to strangers and trying to smile, make jokes, especially when I'm taking pictures of clients. I'll be like, ah, I just want to snap and leave here, but I need to, because there are some clients that good side they don't have, like they don't know how to pose and all of that. Even posing, like posing takes time. Damn, it takes a lot of time. So when I'm like, oh, okay, because some people don't really know how to pose, so you don't want to pose them. Sometimes even through laughter, comedy, that's when it really brings out their genuine smile. You get. So sometimes you just need to communicate, and that's like really brought out the self-confidence in me. Even sometimes I'll need to even dance a little, like, come on man, me back then sometimes I'm even shocked seeing myself doing that, like me dancing in public in front of a stranger, not even my family. I say, sure. The main purpose for all this is to take good pictures, and even without doing all that, I know that I can take good pictures, no doubt. But using my communication skills, like, there need to be some kind of vibe to make the client feel comfortable. Even, okay, let me go back, way back. Okay, back then I knew how to snap, obviously, but because of not wanting to interact with the clients, I'll have to wait for my sister to get there, so that it's not I can snap, but I'll just hold the camera so that she can communicate, pose, especially posing. Like, posing can be a real difficulty sometimes, and today, yes, I can pose, but I rather, like, it's it's a difficulty, but I'm getting above it. So that's just that's what really brought my self-confidence. And if I'm being honest, well, the confidence still coming out. I'll say 80%. I'm 80% self-confident of myself to speak, to approach a stranger and say, hey, I am a photographer. That show them my Instagram handle and all that, because not it's not like it's like I need to do it. It is necessary if I want to make money.
Personally, I think the source of my self confidence is just one person: God. You might laugh, but when I come to think about it, it's true, because over and over again, God has reminded me that I am special, I am unique. He created me and placed me in the time that He did for a specific purpose. And that alone is enough to build my morale. that alone is enough to build my self-confidence and make me trust in the gifts that He has placed in me. So whether the source of your self-confidence is God, you growing up and making good friends, or maybe you've been inspired by icons on social media, whatever your source is, it's good to know that you have something to think back whenever it seems like you're not good enough, whenever you feel like you're not good enough for a particular thing. It's good to have something to fall back on and remember, push yourself that you are special. You can do this.
Can anyone be so self confident or have such high self esteem that they become proud? Yes, they can. Most of the times, this is actually what happens whenever we don't check ourselves. I put check in quotes. This is because we get to a place where ego supersedes confidence and we feel that we can be able to achieve anything, that we are above the law, that the law of the land, the laws of nature, the laws of humanity. So yes, we yes, there are instances where people become proud because ego has now taken over. The issue of modesty is relative, you know. And a great example is, religion. You know, you have, for example, all religions saying that women, particularly in this case, so Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, where they say that women need to cover their hair because it is, because it will tempt men. But then, you have other areas where modesty is, so long as we cannot see the nitty-gritties, modesty can also be in terms of language. When you look at strict cultural norms, especially for both African brown and yellow people. Sorry, for both African brown and yellow people, you have modesty as people who don't question, authority, whatever authority is. But then in other cultures, you have modesty as a form of tone of communication, So modesty is relative. It heavily depends on the culture that you are brought up in. Again, also saying that you could be either African, brown, or yellow, but you are brought up in a different society, so your view of modesty is completely different from what is expected of you. Yes.
High self-esteem can cause pride, but doesn't necessarily mean high self-esteem is being proud. There's a thin line between someone that has positive high self-esteem and someone who is proud. And I would say that thin line is oppression. Because if you have high self-esteem and you start become the carry body, you start using to oppress others, you start seeing people as non-existent, people you have this superiority complex that you are better than everybody, then your high self-esteem leads to pride. But you could have high self-esteem, you just know your worth, you just value yourself, but you really don't underrate people, you give people the proper rating. You just it's not like you have any issue with anybody, you just trust yourself, believe that this is what you can do, this is what you can achieve, but you don't underrate people.
I think high self-esteem is like, how will I put it? It's like not wanting to take criticism. You're too big. You don't even want to take criticism, even if it's constructive, like it's appropriate. You don't want it at all because you don't care.
I feel like pride and self-esteem are two different things. I feel like they are two different things. There are some people that are proud because they have a low self-esteem. You get, so they I don't know how it works, but there are people that their pride is connected to them, not even they don't rate themselves. So when they go out, like when they are relating to people, they have to overhype how they raise themselves so that people will not rate them how they raise themselves. I don't know if that makes sense. It's just like, oh, I'm this. When you see people that are stubborn, unnecessarily and proud, and they just feel like, you can't talk to me anyhow because I know my words. That kind of thing. They don't really know. They don't really know their words. I don't say that. In their mind, they feel like you can disrespect them because they are already disrespecting themselves. I feel like the way we treat people is a mirror of how we treat ourselves in secrets, like how we treat ourselves in our head. So when you see people that have that show love, like people that are really happy with other people, or really people that value other people, it just like shows how they value themselves too. So, and people that are proud, me from my own experience, so proud people that I know that like have this pride in them are always not do not value people. And if you don't value people, it's just you really don't value yourself when you get to the root of it. For example, now this Andrew Tate guy, that guy can make mouth and he just talks a lot of things, and you can't tell him anything because it's his opinion that matters. You get, like, that's how it should be for him. But he's to him is exaggerating that situation in his mind. He's exaggerating like those thoughts that he's having in his mind because he has to exaggerate and escalate them for him to like take them to heart, like to actually for him to actually even consider those thoughts because they're coming from him.
Why young people might be prone to lack of confidence. So my answer will be a bit biased because I work in the, although this is not the correct term, but I will use it in the trauma informed care field. So why a lot of youth have low self-esteem or lack of confidence is because of what we have of the ways that we have been brought up. We have situations, a lot of situations, and we say this as common African stories, African mom, African dad, African uncle, whereby you cannot question authority, good or bad. You have situations where competition, you're being forced to compete for things you don't even want to compete, and especially the subtle, how do I put it, the subtle bringing you down, if I may put it that way. I've completely forgotten the word, I don't know why, whereby they say the backhanded compliment. So you are number two, okay, so does number one have three brains? So you end up feeling that you have to spend the rest of your life competing because you want to gain the approval of your parents. There's also the backhanded compliments, whereby, oh wow, you are handsome for a dark skinned man, you're handsome for a dark skinned lady. And so you spend your life thinking you're not really handsome, you're not really beautiful, that you constantly have to compare yourself, to everyone else. And we can see this in the global dynamic, in the economic dynamic, where they say sub-Saharan Africa. Why is it sub-Saharan Africa? Because you can see that not only because of our different skin tones, but we've also mentally been made to believe, that we are not as beautiful as they are. Why we may not also have confidence is because of what happened when we were young. Our how do I put it? Our childhood determines the adult decisions we've made. So if you're brought up in a situation where you saw one of your parents being vilified, being mistreated, then you grow up thinking that that is what a marriage is. And then as you try and heal, as you try and grow up, you also completely ask yourself, so if they were not happy in this situation, why did they leave? Also, if you're constantly seeing someone seeking help and no one is helping them, you also feel at some point in time you start feeling that no one is actually willing to help you. And two is and three, I think, is this three or four, also the things people say about you, and we can see this especially when it comes to certain fields such as teachers, and people in the security forces. We are constantly made to believe that these are horrible fields to be in, that teachers are stupid, that teachers are not worth being paid um, well, and policemen are all about bribes and whatnot. So when someone comes into this field, they are not comfortable enough to tell you what they do. I remember seeing on Twitter a lady having a conversation. She was talking about the conversation she had with a potential husband, and the conversation was on him, you know, going to introduce her to his parents, and she jokingly asked him, "So, when your parents ask you what I do, will you say?" And he mentioned that he would say she's in the science field, and she reiterated by asking, "But I do arts. Why won't you tell them that I do arts, that I'm a painter?" And she said that he laughed at her and says, "Well, art is not a serious thing." And so when you have people constantly telling you that, then at some point you start believing in them. Yeah.
There are several reasons why people could lack self-confidence. It could be the family values leading them to have inferiority complex. Like here in Nigeria, some parents at a very young age they start telling their children that they are stupid, they are foolish, they are dundee. So when they are in the midst of people with high intellect, they actually feel inferior and lose confidence. They don't want to relate with them. They feel that they are not good enough because their parents told them they are not good enough. So that could also lead to lack of confidence. The environment they live in could also lead to lack of self confidence because if you live in an environment where no good comes out of that environment, certain it could lead to it, it could contribute to it. Like you're in an environment where nothing good comes out of such environments, then you are being seen by others as a low life. You just you don't just feel among when you are with people of higher class and reputation. So that could also lead to lack of confidence.
Exposure alone helps a lot. Sometimes people are just hidden. They're not really exposed. So they are just in their house, like they don't go out. Exposure also helps improve your confidence, talking to people and all that.
A lot of factors. A lot. Number one could be the environment where they're coming from, their parents, their family, their background. Another one could be peer pressure. It's another factor. Another factor could be constant comparison to people around you, like maybe social media causes that a lot. When you're just constantly comparing yourself to everybody else around you. Yeah. Um, Mostly background. Mostly, I feel like if you were not hyped, like from from home, if like your parents not hype you, you will not hype like you will not really know how to rate yourself. I don't know how to like explain it, but most young people don't that lack self-confidence is mostly from when you check it, it's mostly from their growing up, like when they were younger, when they were children. That confidence thing comes from there. Your people are too busy like socializing and like partying that they don't find time to spend enough. Like they don't spend enough time with themselves. You get so like if they know who they are, they will not be comparing themselves to other people really. And if they are contented with who they are, they will not be comparing themselves or like be pressured by other people also. Understand? And another thing is friends. The people you surround, that's I said environment too. The people they surround themselves with, maybe their friends are always abusing them and they don't even like know it, or are always talking about them or telling them things that they have to change about themselves. Like there's some people that they have friends that like they can only see the bad thing about you, like comment on the bad things about you and not the good things about you. That could also affect your self confidence. You get so yeah.
One way you can boost your self confidence is giving. It sounds absurd, but it's true. When I say giving, I'm not necessarily talking about money, but the give of yourself. The type of help you give freely without wanting anything in return. It is sincerely and genuinely caring for others. It is offering your service to others, trying to fill a need of someone. It could be something as simple as giving someone a compliment with a smile. Another way to boost your self confidence is by making good friends. Friends that bring out the best in you. Friends that are always rooting for you. Friends that share similar ideas and or opinions about a lot of things that you also hold dear. Friends that respect you. Friends that are able to call you to order when you are derailing. Friends that have meaningful opinions and perspectives about certain topics. Affirmations too also help to boost your self confidence. When you constantly repeat, not only repeat these affirmations, but you believing in them also helps. Don't tell yourself such things as, I always fail and I never do anything right. Such overstatements only keep you down. Instead, acknowledge your shortcomings, but also recognize your strengths, know your worth, know your true value. Because it is in knowing your true value that you can really respect yourself. So that brings me to another question. Why is it important to have a healthy degree of self respect?
For your mental health, for your well-being, for your mind, for your soul, for your growth. Whenever we have self-respect, we can be able to give ourselves, to place on ourselves the value that is truly ours. If we respect ourselves, we're able to look at ourselves and say, this is not a healthy way of eating. I need to take care of my body, so I will need to eat well. I will need to be serious about my health. I will need to, be focused on this, be continuous when it comes to taking care of your health. You will also say yes or no, depending on the situation, to things that are only for your betterment. Having a healthy degree of self-respect gives you enough confidence to be able to say that this work is too much. I'm being undervalued, I'm being underpaid for the kind of work that I do. I'm not in a relationship that is healthy. I'm not living in an estate that is quiet, which affects your mental health. I'm not wearing the right clothes, which are affecting again my health. Having having a healthy degree of self-respect is especially, I would just say, is really important for your mental well-being, for your physical health, for your longevity in life.
Good for you to have a high degree of self respect so you don't get stepped on, you don't get bullied, you don't get oppressed, you don't get, you just have that, you just know your worth and you have that high esteem that this is who you are. You shouldn't be taking for less. If you are taking for less, you know what to do. Either you leave the situation or you try to improve the situation. You just need to have that self worth, else people are going to step on you. You are going to be maltreated. They are going to be. You just need self worth in this our environment, especially in this our generation, because there are a lot of people that are ready to bring you down. If you are not, if you, that's why there are cases of suicidal people that are being suicidal. and depressed because they lack, some of them, just because they lack self respect. They feel inferior, they don't fit in, so they are they just go ahead and do crazy things. They start taking drugs and feeling depressed and stuff like that. So you just need to have self respect in this parents present age.
It reduces the finish. If you don't respect yourself, other people will not respect you. That's just the truth. That's just the truth. If you know, like, if you give yourself the respect you deserve and you know your worth, your real worth, there are some things you will not allow other people. There are some shege you you will not say because you know, like, this person can't do this to me because I can't do this to myself, right? So if you talk down on yourself a lot or you don't see yourself as meaning anything, if someone tells you that you don't mean anything, you would actually believe them and you'd allow them to treat you like you're not anything. Understand? So, but if you rate yourself, if you respect yourself, like you have self-respect, and you rate yourself to be all that you get, then people would treat you like all that because you would demand that respect from them because you know you're worth that respect, so you demand it. So yeah, it's very, very important.
A person can be very good looking and still feel ugly, or a person can be less attractive and think he or she is the best looking person around. It's all about attitude. Nobody would respect you unless you respect yourself. You should have the right attitude towards yourself first. Love yourself. Appreciate yourself. Your quirks, your flaws, your idiosyncrasies, everything that makes you special. Because it is only then that you wouldn't be bothered about what other people say or think about you. You wouldn't let other people's perception of you, good or bad, determine how you live your life. Yes. Personally, I think self-respect is all about knowing who you are and standing your ground. No matter how. It's standing your ground even when someone comes and tries to bring you down because of that thing that you are so confident about yourself. It might be in the way you speak. I mean, myself, for example, I have always not bothered myself about what people say about me concerning my mannerisms, the way I talk, the way I relate with people, and so on and so forth. If you know me very well, you know what I'm talking about. And I think I wrote something about this in one of the newsletters. You can check it. I think I'll put the link in the show notes. So yeah, oftentimes people usually from a very young age, it's either you sound feminine or you walk like a girl or you talk like a girl. But I didn't let that bother me because as far as I was concerned, I wasn't talking like a girl, I wasn't talking like a boy, I was talking like me, Osakpọlọ, I go back soon. So it's either I ignore them or I tell them that how is it taken from you? How is the way I'm talking taken away from you? I don't understand. You can hear me, you can understand me, so what's your problem? And people will just learn to accept me the way I am because they will find out that, oh, this is how this guy is. he's been like this since for a long time. But there was one person who took it upon his head when I got into uni in my hostel. It was a problem, but I'll constantly call him out and tell him that I don't like this. You're making fun of me, and it doesn't make sense. At first, it was cool, jokes and all, but it got to an extent, it became very annoying. I didn't want to disrespect my elder, but there was a day I just had to call him out and tell him, okay, if this is how it's going to go, don't talk to me, and I won't talk to you. Because I my name should not even appear, should not even come up in your conversation. Just rest, because I'm tired. I don't understand. This guy can be talking about something so random, and my name would just randomly pop up in the conversation, and the way I talk and I'm like, what is it? So I knew my worth. I knew myself that I can't change myself because of you. I can't change myself because of one person. The people that matter to me love me for who I am. So, who the hell do you think you are? Yes, so just don't let other people's perception define who you are, and you'll be good. That brings me to my very last question, and I'll also be throwing this question to you listeners. And the question is, what's that incident that killed your self-esteem and another that increased it? What's that incident? What's that event? Let me know. Gist me. A few of the contributors were liberal to share some of their experiences, and yeah, take a listen.
So I wouldn't say killing self-esteem, but for all the female listeners, I think we've all experienced this as women. You're usually walking in a particular place, whether you're going to the shop, the salon, or school and whatnot, and you find a group of boys or men, sitting at a corner, minding their own business and, doing whatever it is that they're doing. And you have to walk, in front of them or near them, depending on how the road is, going to where you are. And they start whistling and catcalling you, and obviously you will not pay attention to them, and they start laughing at you and making side jokes and insulting you and whatnot. As I believe every single woman in the continent has gone through this, and it literally makes your legs shake, and because at that specific point in time you're so anxious, you're not sure what to do, where to go, or how to even walk. Most of the times, like, you end up tripping and falling, and that, it sort of like proves, in quotes, it sort of proves what they say about you. And there's this joke we have in my country, that the people who make you feel like you're beautiful or ugly is those kind of men, because one, they're men, and two, because they are a group. Whenever you're in a group, even if it's women in a group and they see something horrible about you, it gets to you, so I would say those are the instances. That is the one instant, at least I can say, that every girl has gone through. For others, maybe is if your parents, especially like your mom, did not make you feel beautiful. She always put you down. In relationships, especially with like the gaslighting and whatnot. Um, I would say maybe those are instances that have made people feel lack of confidence for men. Maybe if someone laughed at your size, you know. Yeah, and what increased it to its peak? It's more or less also the same thing. For me, I would say is the first time I was making a presentation on, this trauma informed care and the issue of trauma in relation to former child soldiers, and I had the audience, which was full of experts on refugees and migration, stand up and clap for me, like applaud me. To this day, I still feel the shivers, because you're looking at this 20 something year old person who's just come out to say, we need to look at the issue of trauma in former child soldiers, and you're having people in this field who are experts, applauding.
This happened when I changed secondary school. In my first secondary school, I was well respected. I had good reputation. I had higher grades compared to most of the people around me. So I was loved between teachers and students and everyone, just basically everyone around the school. I was familiar with a lot of the seniors in the school, so I just had a high reputation in that school. But then I had to change school due to some reasons. I expected to continue having that same feeling, that same high self-esteem, but that wasn't the case in the new school. In the new school, there were a lot of people who had better grades, so it was very and they had better grade. They did better. They are already of higher reputation there. They already cemented their place in the school, so it was hard for me to fit in. It was hard for me to fit in into any social group. So the whole it was difficult. It was difficult then, but eventually I learned how to adapt. It took me some time, couple of years, but that's how I regained my self esteem. In that same set of people I felt inferior with, I got my high self esteem back within a couple years.
Well, I think I've already talked about my, self confidence, self esteem situation during my photography time when I was learning photography. But what incident killed your self esteem? I don't think I really have, that event that, because I'm not sure I've experienced something like that before. But what I know is that during my photography time, which I've explained before, I think that, really boosted my self confidence, my self esteem, my self worth.
My mom killed my self confidence, so and my mom also resurrected it because growing up was not easy. Growing up was not easy. I have this type of parents that you have to demand for hype. You get like, and I did as a child. You don't know how to do that. You don't know how to like demand from your parents that they should. Imagine demanding to be praised for doing something good, right? And when I'm a child now, I don't know how to be telling mommy, tell, even when I bring the attention to it, mommy, I did this, or daddy, I did this, I'm like, okay. Or they would give you praise, but it would just be like in passing, like really, it will not even be a big deal. It will just be like, yes, okay, yes, other people should. Or they'll tell you something like, you did well, but the person that did above that, like how your parents used to say, the person that got first in your class, they have two heads, that kind of thing. Like, it's like invalid, something you're really proud of yourself, and you're like, they're now invalidating your achievements. Like, it's not something, it's not a big deal like that. So like them making statements like that, and my friends, I had very cruel friends when I was in primary school. I was bullied a lot. I was very, very tiny when I was small. Like I was very daintily, like I was so small that if there was breeze, I used to stay inside because like that breeze can blow me away. Like I was so small and I wasn't like as big as my friends. So because of that, they picked on me a lot. I didn't really have friends. Nobody wanted to be my friend in my classes. From primary one to like I think primary five or six. I think I had it when I was in primary five that I really had friends. So primary four, I now had like a friend one. So I was usually on my own, and I was kind of a weird kid. Sometimes I like to be on my own. Even now, self, I like to just stay on my own, like just be quiet. So, and children may not understand that. You get, so I was picked on a lot, like a lot, a lot. It destroyed my self confidence. People call me tiny. People call me sorts of things. When I was secondary school, someone said I was so thin that I'm addition. I don't have HIV. So many things. Like the bullying was not here. But like it's really, 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 really affected my self confidence, as you can imagine. My self esteem. I did not rate myself because other people did not rate me. I became a people pleaser. I would always be doing things to like please people so that they'll be my friends, because I didn't have any friends. So like I would want to do things for other people, so that they'll just like remain my friends. You get, and that's actually not real friendship. If friendship is only based on what the other person is constantly doing for you. Although people who have friendships like that too, and I don't judge them. There are people that have friends that they just want to be friends with the person because of what the person is giving them. You get, and it's working for them. But I'm sure it's not working for the other person who is the one that is just doing the giving. So yes, and another that increased my self confidence. There are plenty things, not just one thing, not one incident that increased my self confidence. Like there had to be a number of incidences, and even till now, my self esteem is not even that much. I'm just learning to, you know, I'm at this point in my life. I'm learning to respect myself a lot more. I'm learning to trust myself more. You understand? So there are just different incidences, that increase my but I'll say maybe one major one was like finding God and finding a relationship with him. It really helps me. Oh yes, and I came across someone that was a friend, like, and that friend really helped me, with my self-confidence journey.
You know what I like about listening to other people's experiences and stories is the fact that I'm able to get some sense of relatability from their experiences and understand their plight and also learn from them. I mean, Felicia, especially, her story resonated with me because it's such a similar story with everything, how she got bullied in school and how she had friends that brought her down, but over the years she's been able to grow and evolve, and she's still growing. That's why self-discovery and self growth is not a one day thing. You can be 40 and still be discovering yourself and learning to grow. It's a process that you should learn to enjoy. So, before I get into my own experience, I want to talk about some certain things in some of the contributors' story. First of all, Dumebi's experience talking about catcalling. Catcalling is something that is seen as a norm among guys in our society. I frown at it. I don't like it as a guy. I've I let me know if you say I don't think I have never catcalled a girl before, because one, I have a sister and I wouldn't like it if someone was doing that to her, 2, I put myself in other people's shoes. It's like the golden rule: do unto others what you want them to do unto you. If I was a girl, I wouldn't want some strange group of boys calling me on the road. And there was a video, I don't know if you've seen it. There's a video that went viral of some guys playing music. The video was quite funny, but it was still disrespectful. Yes, because you're embarrassing people. You're embarrassing young women. You're embarrassing ladies. It's all fun and games, but it makes no sense. If you like someone, you should approach the person. Even though the girl might turn you down in the most rudest way possible. At least have sense. Be decent. Stop catcalling. I beg you guys, in the name of God, stop it. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, and Presley talking about how learning photography helped in improving self-confidence. Yeah, I think learning skills, working, also helps in boosting self-confidence, because you get to meet new people, you get to relate with new people and form relationships, and you get to understand how the world works. And yeah, it also helps. So yes, that's what I have to say. Those are just the keynotes I got from listening to everyone. One experience that I think affected my self-confidence, I won't say it brought it down, but it affected it, was my dad. Oh God. We didn't really have a good relationship growing up, especially when I was a teenager. The man was always on my neck, and I was always on his neck. Yes. He would usually, his words had a way of affecting me, because my dad was a strong abuser with his words, so to speak. And man, if that man insults you, you would go and think about your future, your past, and your present. Well, I'm just grateful because I got a break from home to go live with my parents, with my uncle, and I guess that helped. And him not seeing me for quite a while, he began to appreciate me more, and we are better now. Yes, me passing my exams and getting into the university helped. So yeah, that's the experience. So with all of this said today, what I've learned from all of these is that self-confidence varies from person to person. For one person, self-confidence could be a matter of body. For another person, it could be looks, could be a matter of intelligence, thoughts, whatever it is. One thing that is important is that you should know your worth. Don't let the opinions of other people define who you are. Discover yourself and love yourself for who you are. Yeah, so I think that's where I should draw the curtain on today's episode. The next episode is going to be even more interesting. Thank you so much for listening this far. Do well to give this podcast a 5-star rating on anywhere, on Spotify especially. Follow the podcast, subscribe, follow us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And do well to check the show notes for possible links and more info about the podcast and the contributors of this episode. Also check out the newsletter as such as Zimo than a pod. Thank you very much. Bye.